tonight.
She'll get confirmed. I think we got the votes on the Republican side.
She has the votes. Now the Senate moves to advance Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the U.S. Supreme Court. The latest from Capitol Hill. Plus, the final push in the 2020 race for the White House.
Thank you, Ohio. Go out and vote.
How the campaigns are spending this last week before voters head to the polls. And
we're entering what's going to be the steep slope of the curve.
The surge in coronavirus cases in America. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Tonight, we await the confirmation of Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the U.S. Supreme Court. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jenna Browder. Well, the Senate is getting ready to hold its final confirmation vote for Judge Barrett. The vote expected around 7:30 this evening. Republicans do have the votes they need to push her through, but senators on both sides of the aisle took to the floor today during the final debate of the confirmation process.
We should not be voting on this lifetime appointment while the American people themselves are in the middle of voting, of telling us how they want this country's future to look.
Now more than at any other time during my lifetime, it's essential that the Supreme Court retain the trust of the nation. That's why Judge Barrett's integrity, wisdom, and commitment to the rule of law is so important. She will be critical to the preservation of the public's perception of the legitimacy of the court.
And with Barrett's confirmation all but a done deal, many are wondering what a Justice Barrett will mean for cases coming out of the Supreme Court. Democrats say she'll try to help end Obamacare, while some social conservatives hope her pro-life record could help to overturn Roe v. Wade. Here's CBN's Paul Strand.
The Democrats' major argument against Barrett is that 1 week after the election, when justices hear the case challenging the Affordable Care Act, her decision will doom Obamacare. She's just one vote, however, and in past cases, at least 6 of the other justices have been willing to declare parts of the Affordable Care Act unconstitutional while leaving the act itself standing.
The majority said that Obamacare is such a big law, it's got so many provisions, that the rest of it would survive. And that's probably what would happen again, no matter what Justice Barrett would say were she to join the court.
Opponents' other main claim is since Barrett's pro-life, she'll join with the 4 other supposed pro-life justices and wipe out legalized abortion. Not so fast.
Judge Barrett's own words show us she doesn't necessarily think the Supreme Court is ready to do away with Roe v. Wade.
Or the ruling in Planned Parenthood versus Casey that solidified Roe, as pointed out in this discussion examining Barrett's cases and statements.
At a luncheon in 2013, she said, quote, "It's very unlikely at this point that the court is going to overturn Roe or Roe as curbed by Casey. The fundamental element that the woman has a right to choose abortion will probably stand."
Still, some either hope or fear Barrett's presence will change that.
The argument is the more pro-life justices on the Supreme Court, the surer the end to legalized abortion. But the issue is more complicated than that.
As we saw in an earlier abortion case this year, it appears the other 4 likely pro-life votes can't necessarily be counted on to form a majority with Barrett.
Both pro-life and pro-choice activists are overselling the case that she represents a threat to Roe because there aren't already 4 votes to overturn it in the first place.
Even if the addition of Barrett were to form a solid 6-3 conservative majority, the talk is if the Democrats win a Senate majority, they would pack the court with nominees who would likely wash away that conservative majority.
The next step is to try to cancel this victory, undermine it completely by adding seats to the Supreme Court to override this vote for the rule of law and for sticking to the text of the Constitution. And what they want is to have a super legislature of unelected judges who are going to cancel out what that law in the Constitution says.
The question is, will those taking that route look at history and follow through?
It's a bad idea. It was a bad idea when FDR did it, as Ruth Bader Ginsburg herself acknowledged, as even Bernie Sanders acknowledges. And when you're to the left of Bernie Sanders and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you got to take a step back and think, is this really the right place to be?
As to what others hope Barrett's impact will be, these supporters were clear.
Amy Coney Barrett is what we had in mind at the beginning of the feminist revolution. She is the face of feminism. She is the face of feminist freedom.
Amy Coney Barrett shatters the pro-choice narrative that women can't do it all. They say, well, we need abortion to be successful. Women need abortion so that they can focus on their career. And you know what Amy Coney Barrett did? She said, I'm not going to sacrifice my faith. I'm not going to sacrifice my family. I'm not going to sacrifice my marriage. And I'm not going to sacrifice my career. She did it all.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Paul, well, to election 2020 now just 8 days away. Both presidential candidates racing toward the finish line. Key battleground states are the focus for both President Trump and former Vice President Biden as the nation witnesses record voter turnout. CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us now. Ben, let's talk about these numbers. We are already seeing record-setting early voting.
Yeah, Jenny, you're right. Turns out the number of early votes has already exceeded 2016's total. More than 60 million Americans have voted early. Analysts say those who wait tend to be more on the undecided, which makes these last few days so important.
Thank you very much. Allendale.
President Trump greeted with cheers in Pennsylvania.
8 days, you believe that? 8 days from now, we're going to win the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we are going to win 4 more great years in the White House.
The commander-in-chief plans to visit nearly a dozen states ahead of Election Day, and a likely theme will be showcasing his opponent's comments on energy.
Joe Biden confirmed his plan to abolish the entire U.S. oil industry. That means no fracking, no jobs, no energy for Pennsylvania families, Texas, all the other places. He wants to go wind. Let's go wind.
Some polling, however, shows wind could be blowing in Biden's direction. USA Today shows the former vice president up more than 8 points, but the race is closer in some states, including Georgia, where an Atlanta Journal-Constitution poll out today reveals Biden ahead by 1 point, 47% to Trump's 46% among likely voters.
I heard today he's losing in Georgia. No, we're not losing in Georgia. We're going to win by much more than 5.
Pennsylvania matters. So please vote.
It's clear Pennsylvania is critical to both, which is why Biden made a pit stop there this weekend ahead of Trump.
It may come down to Pennsylvania. And I believe in you. I believe in my state.
The Trump campaign announced his second stop this week to the Keystone State, this time by First Lady Melania Trump. In her first solo campaign stop this year, she'll stump for her husband in Akron, Pennsylvania, alongside former counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway.
Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, has betrayed Pennsylvania. How the hell can you vote for him? Is this a serious... How can you vote for this guy? Congressman, how do you vote for this guy?
Biden pushed back, tweeting, "In 8 days, we're going to take our democracy back."
When we're looking at what we need in terms of leadership, Joe is someone who really will restore calm. And from the beginning, it has been his mission to lead in a way that we will heal and bring our country together. Joe says all the time, he will be a president for all Americans.
Now, Vice President Mike Pence will continue on the campaign trail despite 5 of his campaign staffers testing positive, or close aides to Pence, that is. The White House calls Pence an essential worker in that he is following CDC guidelines. Jenna?
All right, Ben Kennedy, thank you very much. And here now for more is Chief Political Analyst David Brody. David, you heard Ben say the Vice President is still out campaigning, but he will not be presiding over tonight's confirmation vote for Amy Coney Barrett. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, you know, McConnell has the votes. And believe me, if Mitch McConnell needed Vice President Pence in that seat, he would get him there pronto. But he doesn't need him. It's going to be a 51-49 vote. I can tell you what the vote is going to be. Just ask me. Susan Collins is going to be the only no vote. And that'll be that. And so it's not just that McConnell has the votes, but let's also remember the last thing the Trump campaign needs now is more focus on COVID and then breaking protocol. And that's exactly what this would be. I mean, Vice President Pence, no need to kind of get into a controversy as to whether he should be there or should not be there, because Mark Short and many of his other campaign staffers have come up positive for COVID.
Well, David, something that they, could stir some controversy tonight. The White House planning an outdoor event after tonight's vote for Barrett, even though her Rose Garden ceremony, we now know, was a super spreader event. Is that wise? What do you think is the calculation here?
Well, you can be sure the media is going to harp on this quite a bit. But look, we know the deal, Jenna. You've been over at the White House, so have I and many of our colleagues. And the bottom line is temperature checks are done all the time there at the White House. Anybody close to the president is getting a COVID-19 test as well. And so, look, I think my sense of it is more precautions will be taken even this time to make sure there isn't a repeat of what many folks believe was the case last time.
So, David, President Trump on the campaign trail stopped in 3 places in Pennsylvania today. Joe Biden, he remained in Delaware. Why is he not out on the campaign trail just 8 days to go?
Jenna, that's such a direct question and such a great question, by the way. I have no idea, Jenna. I mean, look, 2020 has been a crazy year. It's been unprecedented. And now we have a major candidate in a major party running for the president of the United States 8 days before an election, holed up in his basement in Delaware. And by the way, I'm not trying to make a joke. He's holed up in his basement in Delaware. That's where he is. And so I've never seen anything like this. But I think clearly the strategy has been with the Biden campaign is to, no pun intended, but just like your ballot, mail it in. I mean, it's been a mail-in campaign for Joe Biden. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing. Look, we know that just not up to what we've seen so far in this campaign. He's just not there all the way.
Well, we should mention Biden, he did make a surprise stop in Pennsylvania today, so just a note on that. Also in Pennsylvania, Trump, he made it a theme on the campaign trail today, David, in Pennsylvania, to talk about Biden's oil comment in this last week's debate. Biden said that he would transition away from the oil industry. David, what are you seeing? Did last week's debate move the needle at all? Just about 30 seconds.
Yeah, a little bit. We've seen some polling that suggests Trump might be up a little bit. But here's the truth of the matter. If Trump needs to win either Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, or Michigan, one of those 3, and obviously the oil and the fracking and all of that will help him if he can paint Biden as someone that's against fracking. We'll see. I think it's going to be a tough race.
All right, we will see. We'll be following it all. David, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thanks, Shannon. Good to see you.
Well, fading hope tonight. We'll see a coronavirus relief deal before Election Day. The White House and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi continuing their negotiations, but the two sides are at a seeming stalemate as both accuse the other of moving the goalposts. Still, Speaker Pelosi told CNN she thinks an agreement can be made.
Well, I'll never give up hope. I'm optimistic. We put pen to paper and have been writing the bill based on what we hope will be the outcome, what they said they would get back to us on. To do anything, though, that does not crush the virus is really official malfeasance.
With negotiations unlikely to produce a plan before next Tuesday, Wall Street reacted sharply. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closing down around 650 points. Still ahead, another day, another coronavirus milestone in America. The latest on this second wave.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline, Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
CBN News presents an election night special with live coverage starting at 7 p.m. Get updates on the campaigns, plus analysis on the shifting balance of power. Watch on the CBN News Channel or on the CBN News app.
Welcome back. Well, the U.S. has reached another unwanted milestone in the struggle against COVID-19. Now more than 225,000 Americans have died because of the disease, with cases on the rise in most states. Still, new research is offering some hope. CBN National Security Correspondent Eric Phillips joins us now with the details. Eric?
Well, Jenna, when you look at the numbers, the truth of the matter is the death rate is actually down where COVID-19 is concerned. Still, there are some qualifiers there that I'd like to explain.
Last week, the 7-day average for new COVID cases reached its highest level on record, with 16 states hitting record hospitalizations. In El Paso, Texas, the number of new COVID patients has tripled in 2 weeks. Medical workers are setting up outdoor tents to house patients. In Illinois, a top doctor getting emotional.
We are reporting 3,874 new cases for a total of 33 confirmed cases since the start of this pandemic. Excuse me, please.
But there are other numbers not receiving as much attention.
We see that since mid-March, according to the Stanford University School of Medicine, a third of all people who were infected with the virus died at that time. Now that number is down to about 5%. That's an 85% decrease in the percentage of deaths.
Bear in mind, that percentage is getting better as the number of people tested increases. Right now, Johnson says there are about 1 million people tested each day in the U.S.
And at the very beginning of the pandemic, usually the only people who were tested were people who were very sick and reported to the hospital.
Johnson says improved therapeutics and treatments are also helping improve the death rate. Plus, 99.9% of young people recover just fine from the virus. 25-year-old Bethany Walters is among those still fighting.
So what's been the toughest part of all of this? Breathing.
Meanwhile, in some places like Utah, some are encouraging the mom code, where parents won't get their kids tested in order to make infection numbers artificially appear lower. It's an attempt to keep schools and sports open and avoid a quarantine, worrying some parents.
Pandemic is not a normal thing. This is a time where we need to really focus on, tracing this virus so we can be able to stop the spread.
Also this, a study from the University of Washington estimates if 95% of the population wears a mask, it could save nearly 130,000 lives before February, prompting a blunt statement from Dr. Anthony Fauci.
If people are not wearing masks, then maybe we should be mandating it.
And Jenna, some more startling statistics. Information from the COVID tracking project shows that Black people are dying at a rate of 2.3 times that of white people where COVID-19 is concerned. And although those who are in nursing homes only make up 1% of the population, they're now making up 41% of COVID-19 deaths. Jenna.
All right, Eric Phillips, thank you very much. Well, meanwhile, the Gulf Coast is bracing for another potential hurricane. Zeta strengthening this afternoon to a hurricane as it moves through the western Caribbean. Forecasters say Zeta will make landfall in Mexico before making its way up the Gulf on Wednesday. It's expected to bring with it a dangerous storm surge to an already storm-battered Gulf Coast. Folks in Louisiana and the Florida Panhandle are being told to prepare. Zeta is the 27th named storm in this Atlantic hurricane season. Could another landmark deal be on the way in the Middle East? Up next, the latest push for peace in the region.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN.
Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
And ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to cbnnewschannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Peace in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia could be the next country to strike a deal with Israel, and that would have huge implications in the region and all across the world. Chris Mitchell explains.
The positive signal that Saudi Arabia could soon strike its own peace deal with Israel is this landmark interview carried on the Arab news channel Al Arabiya. Saudi Arabia's former ambassador to the U.S., Prince Bandar bin Sultan, condemning Palestinian reaction to the treaty known as the Abraham Accords.
I have heard shocking statements quoted from the Palestinian leadership. At first, I refused to believe what I heard. Then, a day or two later, I saw it with my own eyes on TV.
Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas accused the Gulf states of betraying his people, and chief negotiator Saeb Erekat called the treaty a poison stab in the back.
Their transgression against the Gulf states' leadership with this reprehensible discourse is entirely unacceptable.
Prince Bandar then listed the Palestinian betrayals of Saudi Arabia and Gulf states, specifically Yasser Arafat's support of Iraq's Saddam Hussein after he attacked Kuwait in the 1991 Gulf War.
The interview by Prince Bandar with Al Arabiya was a breakthrough. It was a ground-shaking interview because what you have is a former very senior Saudi official, not current, but very well respected, and he blasted in no uncertain terms the current leadership of the Palestinian Authority, particularly Mahmoud Abbas.
UAE political analyst Dr. Najat Al-Saeed says it also shows Saudi Arabia's frustration with Palestinian leaders.
What I'm sure about, what has been applied for the past years will never be applied now, because basically it failed. And they show, and the reward of the Palestinian Authority was an attack and was siding with their enemies. Before was like people like Saddam Hussein, and now with Turkey and Iran, who are like a main threat to the Gulf region. They are siding with them against the Gulf.
Middle East expert Joel Rosenberg has led several evangelical delegations to the Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia.
I think that we are actually trending towards a dramatic development of normalization, full peace treaty between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the State of Israel. I know that for many that seems premature and it seems even far-fetched. I think that is absolutely going to happen. I think it's a matter of time.
Al-Saeed says as leader of the Muslim world and home to Mecca, Saudi Arabia has unique circumstances.
It's not only a matter of a country and its people like UAE and Bahrain. It's more than that because of its weight in the region, whether from the Arab perspective and the Muslim perspective.
Saudi Arabia provided a key sign when it gave the green light for Israeli aircraft to fly through its airspace. Rosenberg sees the Abraham Accords as a turning point for a country where 70% of the population is under 35, with many looking for change.
I think the main issue here is not whether the royals in Riyadh want to make peace with Israel. The question is, how long will it take to continue to sort of warm up the culture to think it through? It's such a huge breakthrough, and I think it's creating a conversation that's going on inside the kingdom that is going to help lay the groundwork for what will be the biggest development. I mean, there's no peace treaty that's bigger than a Saudi-Israeli peace deal, but I think it's coming.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
This election night, with a country divided and America's future hanging in the balance, go to a place you can trust. CBN News. CBN News presents an election night special with live coverage starting at 7 p.m. Get live updates on each of the campaigns, plus analysis on the shifting balance of power. Watch November 3rd at 7 p.m. on the CBN News Channel or download the CBN News app. CBN News, because truth matters.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5, Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Finally tonight, Washington, D.C. Archbishop Wilton Gregory will become the first ever African-American cardinal. The Pope announcing Gregory, along with 12 others, will be appointed to hold one of the highest positions within the Catholic Church. Archbishop Gregory has served in the nation's capital since 2019. Before that, he was Archbishop of Atlanta. Gregory is known for pushing for the Catholic Church to improve its race relations and for his work in fighting the Catholic Church abuse crisis here in America. And congratulations to Archbishop Gregory on this historic accomplishment. We'll leave it there. Have a great evening, everybody.